Country music has been strong in the South, but all of a sudden, this once regional sound has become America's most listened to music. David Carroll reports tonight on the 90s country boom, and part one of his Eyewitness Extra report, Hot Country.
Some say the country phenomenon can be explained in two words: Garth Brooks. The modest Oklahoman is the top-selling recording artist of the past 2 years. 2 of the top 3 albums on the charts are his. In fact, Garth Brooks has attracted new buyers to the music stores, people who weren't even country fans. And what began as Garth Mania is now spreading to other artists. 2 years ago, names like Doug Stone, Patty Loveless, Travis Tritt, and Marty Stewart were largely unknown. Now they and dozens of others are among the most sought-after entertainers in the business. In Chattanooga, the biggest beneficiary of this country boom is located on the 5th floor of the Osborne Building at Eastgate. US 101 is dominating the market like no radio station has in decades.
We've had a sudden influx of great new talent.
Program Director Bob Sterling is amazed by the new crop of Nashville talent.
I think that has really, ignited a fire in not only the people who have always listened to country music, but it's also ignited this fire in younger people, too.
But my kids are 24 or 25 and 26, and I always told them that back when they were younger, they didn't like country music. And I said, well, you ain't going to grow up until you do like country music. And it's true. They're starting to enjoy it now.
Detractors argue that the country wave may soon fade, much as the urban cowboy craze came and went in the late 70s. But others say the momentum is too strong and that country still hasn't peaked.
About the only market that country has not invaded is kind of the late night market. You haven't seen a country artist on Saturday Night Live yet.
That is until March 14th, when Garth Brooks performs live from New York. David Carroll, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Well, tomorrow night in part 2 of Hot Country, David explains how rock and roll has contributed to the current country music boom.
Well, you won't find many industries that are booming in the current economic gloom, but the country music industry is an exception. Why are country artists setting all-time sales records? David Carroll looks for the answers in part 2 of his Eyewitness Extra report, Hot Country.
This is the country music of the 90s. If it bears some resemblance to what was once called Southern rock, it's no accident.
The fact that country music is really on this upswing right now, I think, says a whole lot for the artists that are in country music right now, as far as being able to bring in the elements from the rock and roll side and from some of the other forms of music into country music and bring that influence in. And I think it's made it a wider accepted music because of that.
Hadn't said that. All right, mighty fine.
US 101's David Hughes says the demise of mainstream rock music has played a big part in country's success.
I think the biggest thing about what's going on today in music is the fact that rock and roll doesn't have a product. Metallica and stations that try to play that kind of thing and call themselves rock and roll stations have no product. Thusly, they have no listeners. Whereas in country, at least you can understand the words.
Many new country fans readily admit they've been chased away by 90s rock and roll.
Because all they think about is pot and drugs and drinking. It's just too loud for me.
I still like to listen to my old rock, but the new rock has gone in a direction that a lot of people like myself aren't willing to follow.
Hughes himself is among those who've made the switch. He was a top-rated rock DJ until moving to US 101 in 1990.
It ain't hard work. If it was, I'd quit.
Hughes says there's always an audience for Southern rock.
And right now, the closest thing to Southern rock and roll is Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks.
And that rock and roll influence may explain why Brooks outscores all competition on TV and in the music stores.
If you saw the special he had on NBC, like he said, welcome to the 90s. It's not crying your beer country anymore.
David Carroll, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Not so long ago, it was a rare sight to see a teenager at a country music concert. But some of today's country stars can boast of huge teen audiences. Tonight, in part 3 of his Eyewitness Extra report, Hot Country, David Carroll examines this change in attitudes.
I feel like crying.
In the 1950s and 60s, at the height of the rock and roll era, teens would cringe at the thought of sitting through a country music concert. Well, that was then, and this is now. Marty Stewart personifies the new appeal of country music. What do teenagers like about it? Answers range from the obvious,
the beat, and good-looking guy,
to the thoughtful.
Some of these songs, they just make you feel like you're somebody special.
The stars themselves are gratefully aware of this new youth appeal.
I'm hearing it more and more, you know. I'm seeing younger people at my concerts, and a lot more people are coming to my shows who are saying, you know, I've never listened to country before, and you're like one of the first people I discovered. And I think it's quite a trend right now.
I remember a few years ago when if you were a country music listener in that age in school, that was the most square thing you could possibly do. That was the most uncool thing you could be. And now it's becoming not only is it acceptable, but it's very cool. It's very hip.
As with most aspects of the country phenomenon, superstar Garth Brooks is credited with opening the floodgates for young people.
That's for you.
Garth Brooks seems to just really appeal to a young crowd, maybe because of his youthful attitude.
And some say today's teens are growing up faster than before, and the gritty reality of country music speaks to their lives.
I think they're living it now. You know, they're living experiences of romance has gone bad. And I think you've got to have a little pain in your life and a little happiness in your life to be able to relate.
Country stars are thrilled with the influx of younger fans whose allegiances often last a lifetime. David Carroll, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.